Hello.
Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us. It's lovely to have you with us. I just wanted to say, and I don't want to embarrass Victoria, but I know she's not going to toot her own trumpet, so I'm going to toot it a bit for her, my darling. You are a lady with a truly golden heart, and we are honoured by your presence in this community. And we're honoured by the way that you share your bravery, your honesty, your generosity, and your authenticity, and you are truly treasured. And
Thank you.
you really are. We're really blessed to have you with us. Thank you, thank you. And I just wanted to say, obviously, I'm not going to blather on forever because we want to hear you rather than me. But you have been on quite a journey of self-discovery, both physical and emotional. And for those of you who don't know, Victoria is also an expert in Reiki, and she's won awards for that. And she's been sharing what she learnt along the way as she experienced her journey with others who are struggling. And she has this brilliant mindset and emotions program where, in Victoria's words, she provides the tools and space to empower you to open the door to your inner power and potential. I love that. I mean, that in itself is just so powerful. And Victoria has struggled with addictions, which she's been, as I was saying, very open about, and wanted to talk to her about standing in the storm of pain and cravings, because I think that we agree that cravings and addictions are born out of pain, a lot of childhood pain, when our parents didn't give us what we needed to feel safe and loved and cherished. And addictions soothe the pain, but temporarily, but ultimately they harm us. I think, would you say that that's one of the sort of salient or telling points about an addiction is that it's something that we find ourselves driven to keep doing, even though we know it's not good for us and it's damaging us.
Yeah.
I think I think that's the thing, and I think I've often wondered, and I don't know if you can shed any light on this, Victoria, but what is it that drives us to become addicted to smoking or drinking or sugar or carbohydrates in general, as opposed to shopping or gambling or pornography even, because that's a serious addiction for some people. And I just don't know. I don't know. Have you thought about that, Victoria? Have you got any light to shed on that?
Yeah.
I suppose it's.
I mean, I think for me, and I actually, I can resonate with both sides, actually, from smoking to food to alcohol, not with drugs, although I think that was a potential, but it scared me when I dabbled in that I immediately didn't go there again with that. But I also have struggled with, when I was growing up as a teenager and early 20s, gambling. I was talking with my friend Sarah, actually. I've put my whole wages of me working in a pub one week in a fruit machine, chasing the getting the money back, because I've put it in and I can't stop doing it. That didn't last for very long, but it wasn't just once that I did that. So, and also shopping can be a thing now that I need to be mindful of. And so what I try to do is embrace a mindset, and Pat will tell you, of respecting money. And if I don't need it, I try not to buy it. I think about, do I really need it? And go through those, because I can also go into a land of, I need this and I need that, in order to soothe and in order to fix and in order to help me for a second feel better, and then I feel guilty that I've spent this and I've spent that and I've done this and I've done that. So I think, as you said initially about the pain and maybe what we weren't given as children, or maybe it's other things that happened, like I was bullied at school. I always felt different, taller, big feet, bigger, and so I never felt fully accepted as me. So I felt, so consequently what happened is, initially it was the food. I would use it to soothe. I would use it to help me feel safe, secure, loved. I would nurture myself in that way. And then, various things transitioned in my life, from parents divorcing and then because I was eating and hiding eating, I then got bigger, and then I grew taller, and then my feet continued to get bigger. And so it then just became this vicious cycle of I would hide food, and I used food I think is my primary addiction, my primary go-to, my primary self-soothing in whatever aspect that was, whether it was crisps, whether it was sweets, whether it was chocolate, whether it was sandwiches in the car on the way from work. And then it was smoking. I used to smoke 40 a day until I gave up late 90s. And then it became alcohol, and alcohol was the thing that gave me more confidence. So for me, it was the emotional support from those things that I got. But what, for me as an individual, I clearly have some kind of chemical imbalance or something that happens in my body that causes a physical reaction to it, so a physical addiction to it. So it's not just an emotional fix, it's also something that happens to me physically. So I can't just drink one alcoholic drink. One is too many for me, and you know, a million is never enough because of that insatiable chase for more, and then going into blackout. And the same with food, and the same with smoking. So what I learned with those things is it only takes me so far in my life where it then starts to be destructive, and it starts to then have physical consequences, emotional consequences, you know, driving over the limit to places to buy more alcohol, or physical things happening in my body because I'm overeating or I'm killing myself with smoking. So I can stop. If I physically stop ingesting those things, then I don't anymore have a physical reaction to it. But what I need to learn is, how do I fill that hole that those things for a minute emotionally helped me to fill, which I can then chase through spending money or doing other things to help soothe and change the way I feel. And so the thing that I have found, and there's lots of different things that work for me. It can be physical things like going out for a walk, or it can be spiritual and emotional things like praying, you know, and asking for support with, especially in the beginning when I stopped drinking, or in the beginning when I stopped with choosing to stop eating sugar after I'd had Isabella. I was in a complete downward spiral with my eating again after I'd had Isabella. Even in recovery of not drinking, the whole sugar thing came back up again, and I had to look at it in what was it that triggered me, what was it that I was using to deal with stuff in my life. And so I then look at what can I replace that with, and it's more loving things, it's making more loving choices, and that's a work in progress, Petronella. And I have to and some days I do really well, other days I don't do so well, and so I have to just keep walking that road to self-love and self-discovery, because I haven't got any other choice today, because I can't go back to that place of struggling with being controlled by substances and other things that just make me in a bad headspace. And so I have to just keep trialing and erroring things that work.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Victoria. Thank you for sharing that. And it's really, I suppose, a lot of it comes down to, you know, we talk about responsibility for ourselves, but also because of Isabella.
Yes.
You know, you need to look after number one.
Yes.
Yeah, and make sure you're around, you know, for as long as you possibly can be.
100%.
And feeling good.
Yeah.
So what was the first addiction that you overcame, and what was the turning point when you thought to yourself, I've got to stop this, I can't do it anymore?
It's interesting because food initially, I think, and I tried to fix it in a way that was a band-aid fix, that then escalated me into having to look at my use of alcohol. Food, I mean, and I've shared stories on my grid, Petronella, that at my biggest, I couldn't even fit into an airline seat and have the seatbelt fastened, or I couldn't sit in a proper seat that had got the side bits in it, because my hips and my bum just wouldn't fit in it. So I knew I needed to do something about my eating, and I tried a quick fix with that. That then within a year, I was drinking alcoholically.
Yeah.
So it was a complete, almost overnight switch from addiction to food to alcohol addiction.
Yeah.
And so my approach was a spiritual approach, was not drinking it, and then going through and looking at my, you know, going through. I mean, I went through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I continue to use that approach, and that's what's worked for me. It's not something I share very openly, like, hi, I'm Victoria, I'm an alcoholic. Do you know what I mean? It's not, but I'm sharing it as in support in this community, because I can say, you know, I'm Victoria, I'm an overeater. I'm Victoria, I'm an addict. You know, to whatever, to whatever sometimes. And so I use a spiritual approach. So I try to always make sure I'm being honest and ethical. So, you know, being truthful, but not truthful in a loving way. So I don't lie. I do things that help other people. I try to remain grateful. If I have done something wrong and I need to apologize for it, then I'll apologize for it. And I call on something that's bigger than me to help me when I'm struggling.
Yeah.
That
We all need something
in here, I think, you know.
Yeah. It's interesting what you said about being picked on, being bullied at school because you were bigger than the others or whatever, and that all those addictions, what they do is they diminish us, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, they make us smaller, obviously not physically, but I you know, maybe that was part of the root of how it happened, how the addictions came on. It's almost like wanting to go away, isn't it? Like not wanting to be here for us or for anybody else. You know, just removing ourselves and changing our state. But you know, it's funny when you think about it that even little children, you know, they go round and round in circles, and it makes them feel dizzy, and they think that's very funny. But you know, I suppose that kind of changing our behaviour by changing how we feel, by changing what we're doing, starts very young. And maybe it's not a good sign that children, you know, that when we see little children going round and round in circles, that we should actually talk to them about what might be wrong.
Yeah.
What do you want to change? You know, what do you want to get away from?
Yeah.
I remember going round and round, that we had some friends where I grew up in Suffolk, and they had a round swimming pool, and I was going round and round and round and round, and I fell in, and it was probably a millisecond, but I have this strong memory of sitting on the bottom of the pool, feeling very happy. And then suddenly the next minute, you know, there's commotion, and I was dragged out, and I was pretty furious about it. I mean, it probably all happened in a matter of seconds, but it was a lovely, lovely, peaceful place to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, Victoria, how do you cope now? I mean, you talked about the spiritual aspect, about, you know, something bigger than you, bigger than ourselves, which is really important. And I think that's probably why we like joining clubs, or we like being part of, like, the HBD gang or the HBD community. You know, it's not just us on our own anymore. It's like-minded people with very often common goals. Yeah. And how do you get to the point where you're thinking, oh my goodness, I can feel that feeling again. I don't want to overeat, or I definitely don't want to smoke or drink alcohol. How does it work in your head? What's the thing that can bring you back? You said compassion as well.
Yeah. I think I almost get, so with the alcohol, the lurking notion that I can ever drink normally, or that I even want to do that, it doesn't even appear in my consciousness, actually. But I know it's essential for me to keep myself spiritually well, and by that I mean that I always do the right, honest, and ethical thing. That I that I journal if I need to, that if I feel upset or angry about something, that I usually journal about it, or I'll talk to Pat, or I'll talk to somebody that I know as a closed mouth friend that I know has got my back, that I can trust. Or I pray if there's no one else around, to whatever, I don't care. It might be if I'm out walking with Robbie, it might be that I sit for a minute and I go inside and say, oh, I'm struggling with this a minute, can you please help? It might be that I do a jigsaw, that I have a bath.
Yeah.
It's doing something that changes what's going on for me. And what sometimes happens as well is I get a snapshot in my head of, I could have this, but then what would happen?
That's good. Yeah.
And I see myself in the destruction that would be caused by either eating the sugar or drinking the alcohol or doing the thing that I know really isn't where, if I'm nurturing myself, or if I want to make a loving choice, isn't the best thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you. It's a strange thing to think of, that of all the addictions, eating food, we have to eat. We have to eat to live.
Yeah.
And so I suppose it's a question of identifying the triggers for us. So it might be sugar, and then we know that, well, when we start eating sugar, we eat loads and loads of chocolate or whatever, and then we might get sick of that and start eating crisps or whatever.
Yeah.
So I suppose, would you say that that's the most complicated one in a way to unravel?
Definitely. And you know, I'd gone on a journey of huge weight loss before I then looked at my alcohol and then stopped that. And my weight kind of fluctuated up and down. And, you know, one of the things that they talk about, I'm not necessarily sure I agree with, is when you stop drinking, replace it with sugar, replace it with something. I'm not sure that's the most helpful thing to do in my experience.
Definitely not.
And so what I did when Isabella was born, what I noticed was I was doing I was being dishonest with my eating. I was sneaky eating.
Yeah.
So I would eat in the car. I would go to like Starbucks drive-through and get a muffin and a coffee with Isabella, baby, like in the car sleeping, and I would then sit and I would eat it. Or Pat would be in the kitchen. He probably doesn't even know this. Pat would be in the kitchen. Pat would be in the lounge next door to the kitchen, and I would be in the kitchen, like eating something before I went into the lounge. And I can't behave like that because it's dishonest. So I have to look at that behavior and say, what is it that I'm doing? I'm hiding, I'm sneak eating, I'm taking food up to the bedroom and I'm eating it when Pat's still downstairs and I've gone to bed. All of that is it's not a healthy headspace for me to be in when I'm doing things like that, because it's dishonest and it's sneaky.
Yeah.
So what I did was look at what are the main things that I'm using then. And it was cakes, biscuits, chocolate, sweeties.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'm going to stop eating that.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And, you know, and I went through that process and learned how to navigate that. And I had help from Pat. Obviously, he's amazing and he was really supportive, that I could say, oh, I'm struggling. Or I would just implement things as best as I could. I think there are other things I need to still look at, Petronella. Bread, croissants in France. Lara will tell you last year was hilarious. One of the conversations her and I had. She's like, I knew I needed to back away from you with not talking about the croissants. Don't have a croissant in France. I was like, crazy woman. So I think there's still things that I can have tendency to get comfort from and look at. And so there's still things, it's ever evolving and ever coming up and showing me. But I just try to maybe laugh at it a bit more, or just try to be a bit more gentle with myself than otherwise I feel like I need to be Mary Poppins and be the all singing or dancing person and just like make the perfect decisions all the time. And it's just not like that, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And like you, we were talking on a live, I think it might have been in February or something, just to come back to the airplane seat.
Yeah.
And then you had the opposite, and you were worried about it. But tell us what happened.
Oh,
You got
when I went to Morocco with my
Morocco
mum.
with your mum, exactly.
Yeah,
And that was
yeah,
ages after you lost so much weight, and you know, I mean, but you
it's
were still
ridiculous.
really frightened
It's
of it.
the picture that Lara did of the life for today actually is when you look at in the mirror, do you see what other people see? And I constantly say to Pat, how do I look in this? He's like, you look amazing. Do I? And I'll say to him, I'll be looking in the mirror and I'll ask him to come and stand by the side of me and look in the mirror and say, is that how I look? If you look at me in the mirror, is that how I look? And yeah, I really struggle with, I think it's because I've been so programmed with, I'm not okay as I am. I need to change something. You're too fat, or you're not pretty enough, or you're not feeling okay with yourself enough. It really is something I have to, and I don't know if I'll ever feel normal, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
In lots of people that I know, we talk about normal's really just a setting on a washing machine. It's not normal, just it doesn't exist, you know.
exactly.
It's whatever our perception is of how we should be. But I think I do still have this, not I think, I do still have this, I look at myself in the mirror and I struggle with, am I okay?
Yeah.
What I'm looking at, am I okay?
Is it real?
And so I have, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why I share that in our community, because I can't be the only person that feels that, because I get messages from people saying I struggle to catch up with myself with,
Yeah.
you've got the whole physical losing weight, but if it's been an ongoing thing, and it's like, I'm 52 in November, and for most of my life, really, I've struggled with my weight and struggled with myself and what I think and feel about myself. And my my ideal was, and you know, my amazing, beautiful, supportive husband says, I love you, I love your bum just as it is, I love all the bits of you just as you are. But I can say that to you all day long.
Yeah.
You know, we need to feel it in here, don't we? And
Yeah.
I suppose for me, my stepbrother really bullied me when I first moved in to the house with my mum and stepdad, and I wasn't, but he called me a fat cow and he picked on me and all of this stuff. And my goal was always to get to the point where nobody could call me a fat cow. Nobody again could say, you're fat, you're a fat cow.
Yeah.
And it's that thing of, actually, I need to get to the point rather where I don't care what you think.
Yeah, exactly.
And that for me is a bigger work in progress. This whole emotional self-acceptance and self-love, which is what I strive for,
Yeah.
is the bigger picture than really however anybody would want to behave. But that's my, if we look at what's the thing that causes you to need to use something, it's that from a very early age, not being unconditionally
Yeah.
loved and unaccepted. And so I've grown up with this lack of self-worth and lack of self-belief and need for validation from other people. And there's never enough validation from anyone, Petronella. There's never enough likes on Facebook. There's never enough followers on Instagram. There's never enough, because there'll always be one person that unlikes or unfriends or makes a comment. And so I have to find it in here that I'm enough as I am.
You are.
And that's the work in progress, isn't it?
It really is. I think for probably pretty much, yeah, all of us, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, we are enough. That's Marissa Peer. I love her hypnosis thing. But it's really interesting what you said about validation from other people, because if we accept the validation, then we have to accept the shit stuff too, don't we? You know, we can't have one without the other. So it's a question that, like you said, of knowing that we are enough and looking inside. And I think I talked about it on the live it's solo a couple of weeks ago, whenever it was, about nurturing the little girl or little boy who we once were,
Yeah.
and reconnecting with that being. And that was the original you, the original me. And
Yeah.
you know, going through life and weathering these storms and facing all sorts of horrible situations and challenges, you know, somebody else emerges, but deep inside us, that little girl, for you and me anyway, is still there.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who said it's never too late to have a happy childhood, you know, to really nurture that little girl and to tell her that, yeah, it was pretty damn tough along the way.
Yeah.
But we survived,
Yeah.
and we're here. And you not only survived, darling Victoria, but you are spreading that love far and wide, not just with HBD, but also with your fantastic mindset and emotions program, you know, sharing what you've learnt. And if, you know, if anybody's watching this and wondering about Victoria's story, you know, have a look at her grid and have a look at the photographs and read the stories. And if you're struggling, please do get in touch with her and sign up, because I've heard some, I mean, there have been really wonderful rave reports about it, Victoria, and it's really, really valuable what you're doing. And that's what we all want to do, and that's what we're doing, you know, with this community,
Yeah.
is we're all helping each other out, because, you know, we've all felt similar things, and that it was hopeless and that we were unworthy or
Yeah.
bad in some way.
Yes.
But we're not. We're just human beings doing the best we can. And I really think that, honestly, it starts with us, with accepting ourselves, and as you say, Victoria, turning up for
Yeah.
ourselves every day, even
Yeah.
on the toughest days,
Yes.
and treating ourselves with respect and compassion.
Yeah.
And, you know, thinking back about what we've experienced and what's happened to us along the way, say, yeah, you survived.
And I think Petronella as well, what helps me is that there has to have been, like, I believe that I agree to whatever it is that happens in
Yeah,
my life before I incarnate
yeah,
here.
yeah,
That whatever it is that's going to happen, I've already said, yes, this will be my journey. These people will do me harm. These people will love me
yeah,
in order for me to grow along the way. So I have to believe that what I've gone through is for a
yeah,
purpose. And so so there's a point to it.
yeah, exactly,
So
exactly.
then I can retrospectively look back and go, I see now why that happened. I see now why I went through that.
Yeah,
To then be of service to others and
yes,
help others along the way.
exactly.
But that going in with that little girl, what I've also learned along the way is it's essential that I do that and go inside and check in and say what's here
Yeah,
and what do I need
yeah,
to help me with dealing with this stuff, because otherwise my default is to act out, is to sting you before you sting me, is
yeah,
to react and destroy before you can destroy me, unlove you before you can unlove me, and that and ultimately the higher level is that I'm calm and I'm peaceful and I'm loving. And so it's just this whole continual work, as you say, of what is it that I need to do in order to grow and evolve more,
yeah.
you know.
Calm and peaceful and loving. It's, and just the way you say that sounds, it sounds so harmonious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we all want, you know, order in our lives as well, don't we? As well as, you know, feeling good in our own skin and as you said, being of service to others. But sorting out our stuff, you know, making time for ourselves to, you know, it sometimes feels like a bit of a luxury, you know, to go through our cupboards and get rid of things that we don't need anymore, or that, as Marie Kondo said, aren't giving us any joy.
Yeah.
And get our stuff into order, you know. And like you said, we're all a work in progress,
Yeah.
and so is the place we live in. I think
Yeah.
we've got my lovely friend Gloria staying at the moment, and Gloria is very practical and very generous, and the upstairs bedrooms, there are 3 bedrooms upstairs, and they've been a kind of dumping ground for everything that I didn't know where to put, you know. And we made up all the beds together, but now my bedroom's turned as the
Oh
dumping the dumping
no.
all the stuff that came out of there. But at least it's all contained in one place now, and I can see what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, thank goodness. Thank you so much, my darling. I don't know if you've been keeping your eye out for any questions or comments for you. HBD Gigi says, I certainly eat my emotions. Many of us, if not all, can relate to so much of Victoria's story. That's absolutely 100% Gigi. I should think that most of the questions be for you, my love, because of what you've endured, and not just endured, but survived and thrived through. And like you were saying, it's about all those lessons we learn along the way. A bit like the clouds with the silver lining.
Yeah.
You look back on whatever difficulty that was, and like you said, okay, I get it. Yeah.
Petronella, could I read something? Is that okay?
Yes,
That
please.
really helps me. I
Thank
don't,
you.
if Pat's watching, he'll probably roll his eyes at what I'm going to read, because he knows how much I love it, and it's so it's called Just for Today. I don't know if you've heard of it or not. So it says, just for today, I will try to live through this day only and not tackle my whole life problem at once. I can do something for 12 hours that would appall me if I felt that I had to keep it up for a lifetime. Just for today, I will be happy. Most folks are as happy as they make their minds up to be. Just for today, I will adjust myself to what is and not try to adjust everything to my own desires. I will take my luck as it comes and fit myself to it. Just for today, I will try to strengthen my mind. I will study. I will learn something useful. I will not be a mental loafer. I will read something that requires effort, thought, and concentration. Just for today, I will exercise my soul in 3 ways. I will do somebody a good turn and not get found out. If anybody knows of it, it will not count. I will do at least 2 things I don't want to do, just for exercise. I will not show anyone that my feelings are hurt. They may be hurt, but just for today, I will not show it. Just for today, I will be agreeable. I will look as well as I can, dress becomingly, talk low, act courteously, criticize not one bit, not find fault with anything, and not try to improve or regulate anybody except myself. Just for today, I will have a program. I may not follow it exactly, but I will have it. I will save myself from 2 pests, hurry and indecision. Just for today, I will have a quiet half hour all by myself and relax. During this half hour, sometime I will try to get a better perspective of my life. Just for today, I will be unafraid. Especially, I will not be afraid to enjoy what is beautiful and to believe that as I give to the world, so the world will give to me.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's really, really lovely. And some parts of it are a little bit funny, but it's very moving.
Yeah.
Very, very moving. It's really, when you hear something, you know that it's true. It kind of really gets you in the heart. That's amazing. And who wrote that?
I don't know. It's a card. It's called the Just for Today card. I don't know who wrote it. Yeah, I don't know.
Really
I'll share it on my grid.
Thank you so much. That'd be amazing. You really do have the most beautiful heart.
Thank you. So do you.
Yeah.
So do you. I'm so grateful to you.
And I'm so grateful to
Really.
you. Yeah, seriously. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Pete.
So freely. And we love you. We really, really love you. And we are so blessed to have you among us in this community. And, wherever else you are in life, you really are one of a kind. Amazing. Okay.
Thank you, P. Love you.
Love you too, my darling. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, sweetie.
Bye.